All of these wonderful picture sleeves remind me that although Britain had the best music and the best bands in the world, they had the worst singles covers. If you lived in Germany, Spain, or even Austria, look at these wonderful, colourful picture sleeves you had to look at. All these great pictures of the Beatles. And now, take a look at what British fans had to sit and look at. The Beatles arrived on the scene at a time when the record companies in the UK were all powerful, and the most important thing about a record seemed not to be who was on it, but who manufactured it. Look at this original UK Parlogram cover from 1963, the design of which essentially remained the same throughout most of the 60s. There's not a word, let alone a picture of the Beatles anywhere. If you wanted that, you had to do it yourself. What was being advertised here was not the Beatles, it was Parlophone. Well, maybe there's something informative and interesting on the back. Not really. There's an advert for record tokens, made by EMI, a record cleaning cloth called Emitex, which was also made by EMI. So far from promoting their greatest asset, in this case the Beatles, EMI were more interested in promoting themselves. The most exciting thing which appeared on UK single sleeves in the 1960s happened in late 1965, when adverts for products made by British electrical company Morphy Richards began appearing on the back of them. Looking at these, I was wondering, why Morphy Richards? What made them so special? Well, to find out, we have to take a quick look at the history of that company. Morphy Richards was founded by Donald Morphy and Charles Richards in 1936. They became massively successful producing electric heaters, irons, toasters, and many other useful electrical household appliances. In 1953, they produced their first hairdryer, and by 1959 claimed to have 90% of the UK market. In August 1960, Morphy sold his share of the company to, guess who? EMI. Richards declined to sell his and quit to head the domestic appliances division at GEC. Interestingly, at this time, EMI also attempted to take over Philips Electrical Industries. What a company that would have been. Now, the acquisition of Morphy Richards made a lot of sense, as you have to remember that most shops that sold records in the early 1960s in the UK were in fact general electrical retailers. At first, records were not their main bread and butter, as most of their business was with radios, tape recorders, refrigerators, washing machines, vacuum cleaners, and even TV rentals. Most were small independents, but they also included well-known chains such as Rumbelows. Anyway, in October 1963, Morphy Richards took over EMI's record player division, and in April 1965, a man called Norman Tomlinson became their managing director. And his appointment appears to coincide with the first appearance of Morphy Richards adverts appearing on the back of EMI group singles in late 1965. On HMV sleeves, you got your Morphy Richards Astral spin dryer, which according to this holds so much but costs so little. Well, it actually cost 21.5 guineas, which is about £450 or $550 today. As I said in the last video, it's easy to forget how expensive records and electrical items were back then in comparison to now. Columbia Covers promoted the deluxe Morphy Richards Hair Salon Pack for £2.09 It's about £50 or $60 today. And Parlophone, well, they showed the fastest, quietest, sweetest way to dry your hair, the Morphy Richards hairdryer. Yours, young lady, for £3.17 which converts to a hefty £80 or $100 today. How many teenagers could afford that? Hairdryers, by design, are not very exciting items in themselves. So, in an attempt to make them appealing to teenage girls, and perhaps by this time a few boys, Morphy Richards, or should I say EMI, created their own teenager to promote it. And her name was Fran Brown, aka Fran the Fan. Fran and her friend Kate appeared in a series of 3 stories on the back of Parlophone covers from the end of 1965 to the spring of 1966. So, for the first time anywhere, we're proud to present The Adventures of Fran the Fan.
Fran, you can't wash your hair now.
Why not?
We're going dancing in an hour.
It'll be dry in no time. Have you heard the Frantics' first disc? It's frantic. Here, Kate, hold the dryer while I phone the gym man and organise a lift. And stop flapping, my hair'll be dry.
It's a great dryer. Morphy Richards. Expensive?
A gym man present, so I'm not supposed to know, but it costs £3.17 See? Smashing bird, aren't I? Let's go! Kate, it's time you got your own Morphy Richards hairdryer, tatty head.
I will, but it costs £3.17 and I haven't got a gym like you.
I'd much rather have one of the Frantics. Wool just drives me frantic.
Me, I go for Pete.
You would, you and your mother instinct. What about starting a fan club for the Frantics? They'll be the biggest group in the country next year.
Yes, and we'd be their first real fans. Practically their best friends if we got a club going.
Okay, Kate. You hold the dryer and I'll write a letter to Sam Bruce, the Frantics manager. Dear Mr. Bruce, my name is Fran Brown and I'm a Frantic fan. I'd like to start a fan club and be the secretary. My friend Kate and I.
Dear Miss Brown, thank you for your letter about the Frantics. Why don't you and your friend come down to the club on Saturday and I'll introduce you to the boys.
I wish I had time to do my hair today.
I told you to get a dryer, tatty head.
I'm going to buy one.
One of them? That'll come a bit rich.
I mean a Morphy Richards hairdryer.
Come on, Flossie, we can't get weak knees now. We've got to look as though we could run a fan club properly.
So, this is Fran the Fan. Somebody loves me. Rot the club, I'm a Fran fan. Rot the club? Surely he meant fuck. In May 1966, Morphy Richards was merged into the creatively named British Domestic Appliances Company, and the adverts ceased. And Fran the Fan? Well, she married Frantic Walt and went to work in Boots the Chemist. Probably. It wasn't until Strawberry Fields came along in February 1967 that the Beatles were finally granted their own single picture sleeve. And this was only after Brian Epstein had fought tooth and nail for it with EMI managing director Len Wood. And even then, it was limited to just 250,000. Now that seems like a lot, but a Beatles single could sell 500,000 on advance orders alone. They were granted another picture sleeve in March 1970 for Let It Be, but it was no secret the Beatles hated EMI's penny-pinching attitude towards their covers, and no surprise that George Harrison always referred to EMI's sleeve printers, Garrard and Lofthouse, as Garage and Shit House.